All right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. And today I am joined by two very special guests. And I hadn't done that in a while, so I had to throw it in there. Warren and Easton are here.
You're supposed to introduce yourself, by the way.
Yeah, that was a great point. How arrogant of you.
Or humble, because he introduces us and doesn't feel the need to introduce himself.
And he just assumes everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, that's what that's
do that
exactly
too.
what it was
You
about.
go both ways.
That's the story of your two's lives. You go both ways. So,
Well, we came from you, so what's that say about our dad?
I don't know.
We did have somebody actually request that you introduce yourself because they have learned about all this through the podcast and they enjoy the podcast, and so they know who Easton and I are because you introduce us every week. But they don't know your name yet.
They didn't know who the wise guy was.
Well, welcome.
Well, we probably don't ever call him David. We just call him
we
Dad.
don't, yeah.
So
Welcome to the Raised Hunting Podcast, and I'm David Holder, and I'm joined today by my two sons, Warren and Easton Holder.
which that is kind of funny to think that we've gotten through how many episodes and we've never
I don't know if you've ever
introduced
said your
Dad.
name.
I don't think I do either.
Ever.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
So that's like, everybody else is probably just calling him Dad that doesn't know.
That's
the raised
okay.
hunting dad.
All right. Well, today we got a pretty cool topic. Actually, it's a really cool topic. But before I introduce the topic, we always have to make sure we go through all of our checkoff sheet here that we got to go through. So you want to go first? Is Easton going first with a story, or you got some people we need to shout out to?
Shout outs first.
Yeah, let's do some shout outs. Our YouTube gang, they really enjoyed this one. Shout out to Capt Hollis. There was someone in here too that, here it was. It was his actually that corrected me. He said, "I'm sorry guys, I'm a United States Coast Guard boat captain, also was a captain in the U.S. Marine Corps during the Iraq plus Afghan wars. The Captain Hollis is a bit confusing, and I appreciate the shout out. I don't know how I said it, but we appreciate you and your service. So thanks for being a part
Absolutely.
of the Raised
Thank you
family.
for what you're doing.
User RU1HF3ET7R. I think he's been on a few, and now he won't change it just so that we have to keep pronouncing the alphabet. David Harrison, 9731. Jeremy Rupsick, the usuals. Jake Rotman, 7803. Bam Bam, 2533. Butch Beard, 6311. Eric Robards, 1209. And Raised Right, of course. And then there was a couple Apple ones, too.
We need to get some new people in
We
there.
appreciate all you folks on Apple.
We like our normal guys, but
there's a couple
bring your
new ones.
friends, too.
Yeah, tell a buddy. That's the only thing we ask is tell a buddy. And tell him the dad's name is David. And then New Age Conservative. He's always on there, too. And then there's a couple others on Spotify, but as you guys know, we can't see your names on Spotify. So, but appreciate your continued support.
We need y'all to send us some more podcast topics, too. We've got a couple ones out there that we're doing. We're just waiting on some specific guests, but we could use some timely things from you guys.
Yeah, we got a lot of deer stuff piling up.
Oh, yeah. All right, we ready for a story?
Yes,
You
story time.
better explain what the stories, why you're reading the stories, because for those that don't know my name, they wouldn't know what you're doing.
Nick, give me some milk.
And so I was about to do today's story and then do what I normally do. But anyways,
Okay.
since you so rudely cut me off, Nick, this is a note for Nick, put the photo up big on the screen. Well, you don't have to zoom in on it because that's going to be difficult. I know this is hard for you to comprehend, but we can take the digital file of the photo and put it on the screen as I'm talking. It's going to be the bottom right gentleman, old Ben Meeks.
Nope, next one up.
Yep, next one up. Right there, the middle one. Yep. So old Ben, these are our core people who we requested to send us photos and stories of something that we've either helped affect you be successful or just something that you relate to that relates to the podcast or just a good hunting story. So I've got pages and pages here. We've gotten through 3 or 4 of them, and we're just going to keep going until we run out. But these are our home skillets right here. These are our home skillets that will always be here with us because they're the first OGs in our story compilations.
You can still get on the board, though.
Yeah, just send in your information with a story and a photo.
I would like to start adding some turkey ones, FYI, anybody that's got a season open already. All right, so this is Ben Meeks' story. Yeah, okay.
Do you need me to read it?
No, I was just making sure that the first part was good to say. Just finished this email and it's a bit long. I apologize. I wanted to add context to the picture. It only takes a minute to read. My dad started taking me hunting at 5. I got my first bow that year, 1983. You're voluntarily aging yourself, my man. At 8, we moved from Middle Georgia to Orlando, where my dad grew up, for better job opportunities. The hunting stopped. I kept a normal relationship with my dad over the years. Fast forward, and I'm 31, 2010, still in Orlando. My friend invited me on a lease in Georgia. I bought a bow and a gun and started hunting again with little knowledge of what I was doing. A few years later, I convinced my dad to join. He falls back in love with it, and suddenly I'm talking to my dad almost every day. Through hunting, he becomes my best friend. 2 years after that, I found a lease, 185 acres, and just for the two of us. A few years in August of 2019, while at our lease prepping for the early part of the season, my dad sat on a food trough to take a break and took his last breath on earth. I tell that story to say this. My lease is tough to hunt for mature bucks. From year to year, there are 2 to 3 home ranges in the area. For 4 seasons, I struggled to put myself in positions to be successful. I overhunted areas. I piled corn on the ground just assuming they'd eventually show up. I jumped deer regularly going to and from stands, and I was frustrated. A few years ago, I started leaning heavily on YouTube channels and podcasts. I stopped watching cable TV shows. This past summer, your channel popped up. I watched your channel for years on cable TV, so I subscribed. For many months now, I've listened to your podcast. I made the math comment about giving up a fifth of your stand options off of property lines. So for anybody that listened to our Sitting on the Fence Lines podcast, he was our math whiz. I can't say you're the only podcast that's helped, but you're the podcast I listen to the most. I made some changes this season. I learned more about deer. I was more strategic with morning stands and afternoon stands. How I got to and from them. I didn't rely solely on bait. I still used it at times, though. After all, for the first time ever, over 14 years, I didn't jump any deer going to and from stands this year at all, and it paid off. On November 13th, after 4.5 seasons, I got a buck. My biggest buck. My first buck that I had history with prior to killing it. So with all that said, it feels ironic that one of the influences to my changes that made me successful this year came from 2 sons and their dad who have a great relationship through hunting. So thank you guys for helping me level my head, learn to love hunting again, and improve my skills. And thank you to my good friend John Underwood and his wife. The Underwood family stepped up big for me, and that story isn't complete without their help. Ben Meeks.
I remember that one. That was a cool story.
His man.
I really can't, it sounds terrible, but we've got a lot of other stories to read, but I am sorry. That one is up there.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's going to be tough to top. Sorry about your loss, Ben, but what an awesome way to be able to remember him.
Absolutely. The picture, and if I remember correctly, I believe that's the trough his dad was sitting on that's right behind him in the photo.
Yeah. Pretty buck, too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Ben. We sincerely appreciate it.
That kind of goes along with what we're going to talk about today.
Kind of does. Yeah.
Which that's what, for a lot of people, we have a lot of people excited. Dad and I were just on the Working Class Bow Hunter podcast. Easton couldn't make it. He was working too hard. So we got into a whole bunch of the memory bank, which was kind of fun.
Really cool.
Because it was also a little bit different topics and honestly some stuff we kind of forgot about, really.
Yeah, well, when you got 3 guys asking questions about how did you do that or why were you there and that kind of stuff, all of a sudden it just brought up cool stuff, you know.
I'm glad I wasn't on that podcast.
Why?
I'm still upset with them about Illinois.
What they do to you in Illinois?
Remember, I was talking crap on them on our podcast about them. They think that they have just the coolest podcast ever.
They kind of do.
Yeah, they do. I got to kind of give them credit for that.
Yeah.
Their studio is sick.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is. Ours is so ratty compared to
Hey, this is upgraded.
Yeah, theirs is legit.
Yeah. They probably have a whole room in there in somewhere to do it.
They do. They've got a bar in there and mounts and everything. It's freaking sick.
Yeah, it's cool.
See, now you guys know what my envision is. I just don't have the ability to do it in a wide open shop.
Yeah, we're just missing a roof and doors, but
in size.
yeah, close enough. We're in
It's
a garage, but it's all
right.
good.
Well, let me introduce today's topic. Today we're going to talk specifically about some of our most memorable turkey situations. And the reason is turkey season is here. Either you've already started or you're within weeks now of getting started. Almost everybody is. But this is not necessarily techniques, although some of the techniques might come up. This isn't a how-to. It's how did you do it, or why, or what happened. So we kind of were just talking about turkey hunting, and the situation started coming up. And we said, hold on, don't keep talking about those. We'll use that for a podcast. So that's where we are. So with that, who wants to go first?
Well, what's the first topic we're covering?
I thought you had questions for him.
I think the first one that we should talk about, because I think I'm going to win. I don't know. I'll say that, and then I'll just throw it out there. The farthest call in. And I mean, like, how far away do you start trying to call a turkey in? Because I honestly, I can relate mine to elk hunting. And I mean, I've had a turkey call in that came from, and I physically could see him coming.
So how are we confirming this, though? Because what about one that you hear gobbling from a long ways?
Well, just
strictly off vision?
I think you're going to kind of have to.
Okay.
I mean, even the one like that comes to my mind, I can't take credit for calling it in, but that one we had heard, saw him start coming, saw him on the next ridge, and he came a long ways. But by the time we were back in the blind, you're just assuming it's the same bird, not just a new one that popped up in between the time that
you were out and calling and there.
Yeah.
All right, which one are you referring to?
I want to say it was 2014 or 15, somewhere in there. The one you called in for me.
Yeah.
The one you called the Pied Piper one.
Yep.
Because we had we sat early in the morning and didn't have see anything, and then like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, we were late.
Well, I don't know. You were taking a nap.
Oh yeah, Dad heard a gobble or something way away.
No, I got out to see if I could find out where they were.
Well, they ended up we had one lighting up.
Yeah, he started gobbling, but he was way.
It was like 3/4 of a mile to a mile away.
He was at least 3/4 of a mile when we first saw him, and it was just he wasn't strutting, he wasn't doing anything, just feeding in a field.
And somehow he could hear the calls every once in a while, because you could tell the moment that call got to him, he would gobble.
Right.
And so then I went up, like we were just sitting on the bank of a hill, and he was up and over the hill, 3/4 of a mile away.
Yeah, there was like two hills between us.
Yeah, me and Dad went up there. And I'm watching him through the binos while Dad's calling to him, and then Dad thinks, let's just give him something, because he's definitely interested. He's just a long ways over there, but I doubt it'll work. And so Dad just grabbed a turkey fan and like holds it up to where it's high enough to where the bird would be able to see another turkey fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not like he freaking turned around and flew over to us, but
he started.
He turned and started steadily walking at us, and we heard him gobble. Bless you, bless you. We heard him gobble once or twice in between, and about 10, 15 minutes later, Dad said, get back in the blind. And within 5 minutes probably, that bird had come down the hill, or popped up on top of the hill, then come strutting down to it, and I'd smoke him at like 10 yards. So Dad's like, holy crap, I can't believe that we actually just called that bird in that far. I couldn't either.
Well, do you think he was coming to the calls, though, or that he saw the fan?
I think he heard the calls at first and would answer, and he kind of started to mosey our way a little bit, but he didn't strut or anything like that. When we added the decoy part of it, or added the fan to it up there and kind of moved it around back and forth, and we stayed down just a little bit, then it was like he definitely saw it, and because then he started he'd strut.
Committed.
Yeah, he'd strut, and then he would go out of sight and then come back up, because we waited. We probably watched him come for 15, 20 minutes before we went back to the blind. That's how far away he was coming the whole time, and I wanted to make sure he was committed. I didn't want to leave, and then he'd give up.
I feel like for Easterns, we don't see him do that very, very often.
No, I was trying to think of another situation. I can think of one. I had Kyle and Jonah filming, and that was right there at the house. That came from off the north field, all the way over where Nick killed his bird last year. And so that was probably a half a mile.
Yeah. But the way that lays, it's kind of like a natural
Yeah, but
pattern for him. Like
well, the
that's
problem is there's a lot of timber between you and him, and so
and
when
creeks and stuff. And
yeah, when he
ridges.
went in there, it was like, well,
okay. So the furthest we have on record is 3/4.
no.
And then
Dad has one that beats
okay,
it.
which one is longer?
Well, you guys weren't with me on that one, so everyone will have to take my word for it. But I had one in Montana on a block management place in just central eastern Montana.
So you could see a long ways.
I could see that sucker, and so I was calling to another bird that had been gobbling below me, and I kept calling, and it wasn't doing any good. And then I just happened to turn around in glass, and on the top of this ridge, just off the top of the ridge, there was a couple toms walking through there, and it looked like one of them was pushing another, like a, what do we call them when they're not, when they won't come in?
Chicken bird?
Chicken bird. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. But anyhow, that's what it appeared to me. At that time, I didn't call him chicken bird. I didn't know what, there was a tom or two, if I remember right, and a hen, and then this other one was off by himself. And so anyhow, I turned and I started like trying to throw my calls up there because it's got to be a mile. It's a long ways. There's 2 or 3 drainages between there. And because they were pushing him, he started coming down the hill. But I could also hear him, when he would gobble it would echo. I mean, I'd watch him gobble in the binoculars, and then it would take a few seconds before I would hear the gobble.
Yeah, that's always cool. You do that with elk too.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, we'll see. And then I started waiting in my calls to see, is he really responding to me or is he just gobbling? And so then I would call, and then I'd count like 1, 2, okay. Then he would gobble, and then I would hear it. I was like, that sucker's answering me. And so I got to watch him come, and then he would disappear, and then he'd pop back up on the next ridge, and I was like, he's now a half a mile, but he's like still answering, and seems like he's coming. Then go down another drainage and come back up until next thing I know, he's like 150 yards away. I was like, this is going to work. I mean, this could work. And sure enough, he went down the last drainage and came back up the next one, walked up there, and I shot him with my bow at like 7 yards. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, when I showed Jim was with me, but he was in a different spot. When I showed him where he started, he's like, he couldn't even hear it from there. And that's what I would have said the same thing, but I'm telling you, he was hearing it for whatever reason. Fortunately, not a lot of wind that day.
Those birds are just different though. Merriam's, turkeys, people that haven't hunted them don't get it.
They're fun though.
Some of them, the best way to describe it, I would think, is, well, let's just think of some of the most possessed birds we've ever seen.
Ooh.
Droopy butt number 1.
Yeah, for sure.
That turkey was flat out
Mad. He was going to, he butchered a decoy.
Is that the one that
His
beat the crap out
rocker.
of Mr. T?
Yes.
Yes.
3 times.
Then 4, wasn't it? Because then
No.
we shot him again that afternoon.
That
Or Mom
afternoon,
missed again or
no,
something.
he didn't. We didn't get a shot at him.
Okay, so
He came in and
tell
realized
people
that.
about Droopy Butt.
So Droopy Butt was a turkey that came in. We were hunting Montana. I'd hunted this spot before, and this was the second week of the season. Because the first week of the season, you could go there and you would not hear a turkey. There was no turkeys around.
So they were probably flocked up.
Yeah,
still,
well, I
they
guess
just hadn't broke up yet.
they hadn't gotten to where they needed to go. You come back that second week, and there they are. And so this bird is gobbling. I mean, hammering. And so we get set up in the perfect spot. He comes out. It's like, this is textbook. I mean, he comes out into the field. He was with another tom, but he just broke off and came straight at us as fast as he could.
He came from a pretty good ways too, though, didn't he?
Several hundred yards, 400 or 500 yards, because we couldn't get any closer because they were gobbling so hard.
Yeah.
And so we let him come, which the reason that everyone knows this is because you guys were young, so you were laying in the bottom of the blind. There was 4 of us in the blind. Mom's the shooter, I'm the caller, videographer, and then you 2 are just along with us for the ride. And he came in, but in her defense, he came in so fast that she really didn't get a good shot at him because he was moving. And this is, again, she's shooting with her bow, but he comes in and just dumps the decoy. The decoy we're referring to is Mr. T. Mr. T is a truly mounted hybrid turkey from a turkey farm. I mean, he's kind of an ugly little, fully strutting tom, but he's not like a big, beautiful Merriam or something like that. He was kind of awful looking.
He's a live mount, though.
Live mount looked all, I mean, as far as realism, you can't get any better. And this bird came in, and Mom shoots him and hits him back. And what we didn't know at the time was that she hit his rear end and broke his tail so that his fan wouldn't go up and down. So he's standing out in the field strutting, but his fan doesn't go up. His fan just lays there, but he doesn't care that she didn't hit anything obviously like through his body or anything like that, because he was like still strutting around dragging his tail. And so in the meantime, I climb out of the blind because him and another bird are out there. I climb out of the blind, crawl, stand, because when I say he came in and throttled the decoy, he like disintegrated him, knocked him upside down.
Which he was on a little piece of plywood.
Yeah, he's mounted on a piece of plywood that would keep him standing up. So I climb out there and I stand him back up. And as soon as I stand him back up and I'm trying to crawl back to the blind, Mom's in the blind going, here he comes, here he comes. And he comes running back over and sees the decoy, knocks him over again. She doesn't even get a shot at him this time. He's so pissed. I didn't even get back in the blind. So he knocks it over again. He takes off after the other Tom, chasing him around. So I climb out of I'm not even in the blind all the way. I'm like halfway. So I turn around and crawl back out. I got to stand the decoy up one more time, get the decoy stood back up. And this time here he comes in again. Only this time the other bird gets in between him, because the other one would come around but wouldn't like come right to it. And comes in and Mom completely misses him this time. And so we're like 3 times we had chances of killing him. She got one arrow into some feathers and that was it that afternoon. So finally we get out. He finally quits. I mean, probably an hour after that though, we watched him strutting in that field, where he just stood out there and strutted around and strutted around and strutted around and didn't care. So then we decided to go get some lunch and everything. We come back and we moved like 400 or 500 yards thinking we'll hopefully find a different bird, not the same bird.
It's so weird how much different it is as an adult, because I could have sworn we were like a mile away.
No, it wasn't that far. We went straight down the fence line a little farther.
Feels like a long way, especially when you had as short of legs as you did.
400 yards.
So
Yours were even shorter at that time.
Well, we got in there and get set up and everything, and the two of you were like knocked out like in minutes after we climbed in that blind.
It was a long walk, man.
Yeah. Well, we get in the blind, we start making a few calls. So it's like 4:00. And all of a sudden I hear something, but it's not a turkey gobbling or anything like that. It was like a cluck. And I turn and look out of the side of the blind and I'm like, here comes a turkey. I think it's a turkey. I don't know. It's not strutting, but it's coming through the brush right here. And he comes walking up. Well, immediately I realized the reason he looks funky again is he can't raise his tail. He's dragging his tail with fan, but it won't come up. And so here he comes waddling in. Well, this time he comes in and I'm like, okay, Karen, get ready, because it's the same turkey. And he walks in, but he sees, when he gets close to the decoy, I guess now he's figured out that decoy is bad news, because he gets over there and just like comes unglued and takes off running, and she never got shot.
Do you think you could have ever gotten an Eastern to do that?
4 times in one day? I don't know.
I
don't think so.
I mean, that one was still next level possessed, but that one.
Joey's was two in 2 days. The same bird.
Well, this one was in.
But that's
15
like
minutes.
a short time period. That one though was one morning. The very next morning, or the just next ridge over, and he came right back in, and this time he died.
You know the best turkey hunt I ever had?
I don't know. Because I think of a lot of them.
Nobody was there with me.
Oh, I
when you fell asleep and you woke up
and here he
walking
comes
at you.
walking right at you.
Every day I was going to school, and I kept seeing. It was late enough in the season. This was before we'd figured out that you can't, like, you need to kill them all in the first week with Easterns, and so we weren't getting these birds to do anything. And I would see this Tom on a, what do you call those?
Terrace.
A terrace.
Yeah.
Every single day, or at least like 2 or 3 every day. And on my way to school, they'd be there every day. And so then I can't remember why nobody went with me. I feel like I told you I was going to go sit there in the blind with no decoy, and you were like, good luck or something like that. I don't know why I was by myself, but I went by myself and set up, and I think I might have been a little too close because they were right over top of me. But I set up the blind and everything and just sat there, and I remember they flew out the other way, and they were just there. And so I was like, usually they're not here till whatever time I went to school. And so it was like,
I got
8
time,
or something
right.
like that. Yeah, I was like, I got time. So I was like, I'm just going to take a little nap. And I set my phone on an alarm on like vibrate. Well, it didn't go off, right? So I fell asleep. Alarm doesn't go off, and I wake up. I'm like, oh, how long? Because I like look at it, I'm like, it's almost 8, and I was like, oh, and so I just like pop up. There's a freaking Tom at 50 yards walking right at me. I sit up, I grab my bow. He walks to 10 yards, and I shoot him. It was the best.
There's something about falling asleep and having a weird sense to wake up sometimes.
I didn't have much time to spare. I'm like,
never
another 2 minutes, and I'd have been.
That's my point. I feel like you definitely had to have sensed something to
Maybe.
wake up in that time.
Could be.
I've had it happen with deer like that before. I've never had it happen with a turkey.
Well, he did exactly what I'd seen him do every day. Came right down that terrace, walked right to me, gave me a shot like 10, 15 yards.
There's a good tip for you. If you see one that is patterning at any bit at all, trust the pattern.
Well, I knew I was pretty confident in it because I'd seen him do it. It wasn't like a day in a row. For me to go sit there without decoys, it's pretty reliable.
See, I would have been second guessing,
times.
thinking that he was going to be done with the pattern. Like, I've already missed it. Like, okay, this is the last day he's going to do that. Like, he ain't going to freaking do it again. Are you kidding me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Way better to be lucky than good anytime.
Mm-hmm. So
you're lucky.
Let's go to the second most possessed. I think there's a few that could possibly contend with this. I don't know. I still don't know that I've ever met anybody else ever that's ever had a turkey do this. And that was the one in Idaho.
Oh,
All of us.
Uh-huh. That bird had something wrong with him.
Well, so Idaho is a hidden gem for turkeys.
Unless
I don't know if it still is.
He might just be a mountain bird. That could be why he did it that way.
Well, that had to have been, too, one of the coolest places to ever go hunt turkeys. You remember seeing all the elk and everything?
Walking around in there, and if it was a full moon, I remember that. Because when Mom and I roosted my bird.
We were not hunting during a full moon, just a disclaimer.
We're walking in and out of the woods in the dark.
It just sounded like you guys were sitting in a blind during a full moon.
Yeah, no.
Nor would that really help all that
Looking
much,
for him on the roost.
Yeah.
There he is.
Cool.
He's on the moon.
But no, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's mountainous. It's definitely not the easiest place to hunt them.
No, it's legit mountains. So we're in the mountains, and we were in the mountains, and you killed your bird. Did we go back to look?
No, Mom and I heard the one that you end up shooting that you're talking about after I shot mine that morning.
Okay.
Because you guys were hunting the other farm because you had a gajillion turkeys there.
At the train tracks.
At the train
where
tracks.
They were going around Easton and I.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
No. I remember when we all got together in the main one, but I don't remember the.
We sat there all evening and then had one, and it flew flipping over us to get in the roost.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys were on a whole group of birds. Mom and I went to a new farm. Hadn't been there, so
farm permission
place,
farm.
So, and anyhow, we walk up the ridge and this bird starts gobbling, and I mean gobbling like every 10 seconds, every 30 seconds, just I was like, what is his problem? Well, but he was going to roost. He got up in the tree. We were sure. That's why I'm saying it was a full moon, because the moon came up, because I wanted to make sure we were set up. We set the blind that night. We stayed there long enough that he got roosted. I knew where he was. I said, we'll set up right here. And these elk come walking across the top of the ridge with the full moon just coming up. It was cool. And the turkey gobbling, it was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
the next day.
Next morning, we're back in the blind, and it doesn't take 10, 15 minutes. That bird has to come down to the little opening where we are. And he walks down, gobbling, because he was still gobbling. Like, it was one of those times. I haven't seen it happen a lot, but I've seen it probably 10 times in my life or something like that, where a bird will gobble all night long. Just never sleeps, just gobbling. Because when we got back in the morning, he was still gobbling. And so we climb in the blind, make a few calls, gobble right in, and I shoot him with my bow, and we kill him. So, but in the meantime, he gets another bird fired up that's up the ridge a little bit. So we know you guys are hunting, and so we're like, well, let's go see if they've killed one. If they haven't killed one, we'll come back and try to hunt this one. So we come over and get you guys, and you're like, they're all here, but they're flying around us, walking around. I think they'd been hunted before, is what we finally figured out. I think the people that gave us permission had let a landowner kid or grandson or something hunt them, and so they'd been messed with. So we grabbed you guys. We walk back up that where I killed mine. Sure enough, this bird's gobbling. We're like, all right, here we go. Well, same thing. It's kind of like rolling hills that goes to the steep mountain. And right as we got to the steep mountain, he's up on the side of the steep mountain. And I'm like, we can't set the blind up there. And this is a nice little open little meadow there. So let's just try it right here. So we set the blind, set the decoys. Well, there's 4 of us, but you guys are bigger at this point. So Mom and you stay in the blind. Easton comes with me, and me and him are going to call and video from outside the blind. And so we climb behind you guys. We're probably 75 yards behind the blind, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was cool because we were up on a little knob.
Just laying there.
Yeah, kind of filming down on you guys. And so I can't remember. I think you might have actually had a box call.
I did have a box call.
You were running a box call, and I would yelp at him with my diaphragm call, and then he quit. And I'm like, what the heck?
You yelped once.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Mom and I weren't even hardly set up.
Right. And I mean, but as soon as we hit a call, I heard something, and I'm like, what did I just hear? Because I had a little video camera, and I didn't have time to turn it on. Because next thing I know, here comes a turkey flying through the trees, coming right at us. And it was so cool because I'll never forget, he's got his wings open and he's flying like right at us. And the blind is off to his left. And you see him turn his head and look. And he sees the decoys. And he does a left-hand turn and pitches and flies and lands right down beside you guys.
Airstrike.
It was crazy. I've only had one other bird fly in, and that was with Pop.
Off the roost, though?
No, that one didn't come off the roost. He flew across the canyon to get to our side.
This one pitched off a flipping mountain, though.
Yeah,
I mean, the only
but
reason
it
I
wasn't
even
from
knew.
a roost. It was just him.
Yeah. Did you get to see him?
Yeah, the first thing I remember seeing was a shadow.
Yep.
A big freaking black shadow that did not make sense to any normal bird. And we're trying to figure out where this bird went. And so I just looked up, and I was like, oh, my gosh, it is him. That's the one. Here
So
he
you
comes.
got to see him flying in, too.
Oh, yeah. Watch him land. He circled right in and landed right there and went right to you guys.
Only reason I heard him. I saw a shadow, and I just heard, and I remember telling Mom, I was like, I think he might have just flown in. And she's like, what? I was like, didn't you hear that? She's like, of course, Mom doesn't hear very well, you know. And so she's like, no, I didn't hear anything. I was like, get ready. And then 2 seconds later, there he is.
Yeah.
It was insane.
We saw him coming for a little ways once he popped out of the trees. I mean, he flew in from a long ways away.
Oh,
he was up there.
It's insane. It's insane.
I've never seen one cup like a freaking duck coming into a decoy
Yeah, he was
spread.
just soaring because he came off that
on.
mountain, and he just soared down there. But the coolest part was seeing him turn and look. When he looked down and saw the decoys, then he pitched left and just dove in. It was really cool.
Possessed.
That was a cool hunt.
That was awesome. That one was cool. Whole family. Knowing what I know now, we should have been looking for some elk antlers.
Possibly.
There was a lot of elk there.
Yeah.
It would have been fun.
I remember seeing some of the elk, but
There was a lot of elk.
We filmed a droopy butt, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we still have it somewhere. It'd be in the
Let's see if we can find that clip. We also should take the one flying in, and because you can see the shadow. So you should have, a little ding, and it like points. We should share that. People enjoy it.
But I had one at the same place where we killed Droopy Butt. I don't remember whether it was the year after or a year before. That one of the most ferocious turkeys. I mean, I've never heard a turkey gobble as many times as him, other than the one I just mentioned that I shot the morning you killed yours. Close. But this bird gobbled more than that. I mean, it was just like you couldn't tell whether he was answering you because he was gobbling all the time. It was as soon as the gobble ended, he gobbled again.
you'd think
Gobbled
that they
again.
would lose their voice at some point.
Elk do.
Yeah, we know that from the
Uh-huh.
orangutan.
I don't know if his was because of that, but yes, elk will.
But this bird just kept gobbling and gobbling and gobbling. And I had Brandon Jaroszewski with me, another firefighter, and he had never been turkey hunting before. And he was like, this is cool. And I'm like, this is not normal.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
This is like not, I don't know if I can even call this bird in because I don't know what he's got. I don't know if he's got a whole bunch of hens there or whatever. But I start calling. And then, next thing the gobbles sound like they're getting closer. And I'm like, they're getting closer. And he comes in. We have video of him. And I've got Mr. T kind of to the right of the blind. And he is squared up. He starts tail tip to the side. And he's coming in but at super fast walk, ready to fight. and he gets like 5 yards from the decoy when he jumps and just kicks and knocks the crap out of the decoy. And I'm thinking I'm not going to get a shot because he flipped the decoy upside down, and that piece of plywood is sticking up in the air now, and the decoy's upside down. And I'm like figuring, no way, he's going to bolt out of here when he realizes something's wrong. He is wearing out that turkey underneath that piece of plywood. He is pecking at him and everything else, which let me get the full draw and get on him, and then I pinwheeled that turkey. But I've never seen one gobble as many times as that bird did. I mean,
I still can't believe that. You think that's got to affect him somehow. No way, it's just endless. If he's gobbling that much for that long, I mean, that's a freaking ton.
Yeah, it was just constant.
I don't know enough about bird anatomy to know if they're
They
get a sore throat.
Their vocal cords or something.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
It was really impressive. It was fun. Makes me want to go turkey hunting.
That's good because it's next week.
Yeah, I know.
Miriam's are so much more fun, though.
Oh, they are. I haven't killed one in a while, too, and I need to go do it because they are freaking – they're dumb.
Oh,
or just that fired up.
Compared to Easterns, they're not as difficult, for sure.
I think it has to be an intelligence difference. Because, I guess there could be something to be said for out there. There's not as many turkeys in places, so maybe if they hear a bird, they're more apt to go. But I really just feel like they're just not as intelligent.
Right. Or aggression could
and
be
more
part
aggressive,
of it, too, I feel like.
Which I prefer.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
Yeah, Easterns, turkey hunting, the whole thing about turkey hunting is it's not supposed to be that hard. It's supposed to somewhat be work like it's supposed to.
I've had some
and
days
that's why
when
I like
it's really hard.
So I'm saying is I remember last year, whenever I gave up on Alyssa's, I was like, screw this. Turkey hunting is not supposed to be this freaking hard. I'm done with these stupid things.
I think they just get a rap that they're super dumb. Like I just said it too, but they're notorious for being.
For a walnut brain,
you're gonna have either you could have a really fun, easy one to call in, or you're gonna go through very difficult times, and you never know which one you're getting.
Right.
It can be just like elk. Sometimes you get an elk that is, you could have the worst cow call on the face of the earth, and he's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But then you have a whole bunch more that you think they're coming, and you never see them.
Yep.
And then a whole bunch more that you do see, and they still won't break and get all the way to where that's why we keep changing tactics to do things that hopefully put them in our lap.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, then my next question is, what's the fastest call in? And I've got some that.
There wasn't flying in.
No. Well,
dude, it was one call and he was airborne.
Yeah, that could be considered one of the fast. But I guess we'd hunted all morning and had to walk up there and stuff like that. I agree with actually by the time we set up and everything like that.
Mine would be a minute or two, like literally 1 or 2 minutes.
From the time that he hears it and gets there, or what?
From the time that I threw a call out and didn't, because I won't call. I'll do like when we go set up in the mornings. I'll call most of the time, not even with a turkey call, to see where they're actually at, get them to gobble, and maybe throw out one hen call. But I'm set up typically.
Yeah, I don't touch a turkey call until we got the blind is up, ready to go.
And I had set this one was me and Joey last year. I set us up and we're ready to go. And so I said, I'm going to throw out one turkey or one hen, and I'm going to leave it because we have two different groups of birds answering us, or not answering us, gobbling right now. So I gobbled at them, and it's pitch dark still. So I didn't gobble at them. I yelped at one. One answered on that side right away. It is like, I don't remember the exact time. I go watch the footage because we talk about it. For instance, or just for this situation, it was like 7:15. Shooting light was like 7:17, like 30 minutes or something like that. So my first call was like a minute, like right on the minute of shooting light. And within a minute or two, we had a bird standing in front of us, and Joey shot it, and it left. And I just looked at the clock. I was like, good thing I waited, like, to call. And this one never answered. He had never done anything. All the other groups were answering. This one, and I never heard him fly down or nothing. Threw one call out, never gobbled, nothing. I heard drumming behind us and turned around. I said, there's a bird 10 yards from us right now, and he's about to come under the fence. And he comes in under the fence, and we shoot him right there. Goes on. 15 minutes later, I shoot another one that came in from a different group. But that one was within a minute or two of the first call.
That's a pretty good morning.
Yeah, it was nuts.
You got a different one?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Marty last year. When those 4 birds come running across that field
Where did you guys go?
in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we hit. Good thing that I told him I told Jake, don't blow a call yet, because they were 4 toms by themselves. This is the middle of the day. We had spotted them. We walked up a fence row, came out around this. We knew it was kind of open, except for the timber where they went in. I'm like, they got to be right over there, which was about 250 yards, 200 yards, something like that. And I said, don't blow a call until we are absolutely ready. And so sure enough, we got decoys set out, got back in the brush a little bit, hit a call, and I mean, they gobbled 2 times. And I mean, almost immediately, Marty's like, I see them. And they pop out on the edge of the timber there, and then they like saw the decoy, and then they just go into this like that crazy run that they look like little miniature T-Rexes coming.
Booby bouncing.
Yeah, and here they come, and they're like racing each other.
Yep.
And that was one of the fastest that I've ever had. I mean, from gobbling to now, here I'm coming right now.
Those ones are awesome when they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough with a bow. Luckily, he had a shotgun, because when they come in that fast, a lot of times it's hard to get a shot at them because they come in and never sit still.
Yeah, but we'd rather have those ones than having to sit there and call to them for 2 hours and wait for them to break.
I would agree.
I
I don't
like
know.
the
I did it
insane
both.
ones.
Last year with that same exact setup, that was the first time I had one come in that I was completely alone, not with you, where I had one beat the decoy up. And he did not just beat the decoy up. There's 2 of them tag teaming the decoy like no other. And I did not like it.
Right.
I mean, I liked it because they came in and were beating the crap out of it. But at the same time, it was the
don't sit
hardest
still.
shot that I
Right.
possibly could have come up with on any of the birds I've killed over my life. It was ridiculously difficult.
But what about some others? What about yours? What's the fastest one that you've ever had besides the?
Besides one that flew in.
Yeah.
Oh, my Nebraska one would be a good one too.
Which one are you talking about?
Very first one.
Yeah, he came right off the roost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you watched him come out of the
Yeah,
roost.
we watched him come off the roost and come right to us.
Yep.
But and then if you remember, the one you should remember is the very first turkey. You weren't the shooter, but when I shot the first turkey, you were with.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
in
that.
Lewistown, Montana.
Yeah.
And in the snow. Because I told you, I was like, started walking, and we're still shotgun hunting at the time, and I said, I think that bird is out of the tree already. And I'll be completely honest, at that time, I don't have a watch on me, or I didn't carry a watch or anything like that. I don't know whether it was legal shooting light or not, but I could see him just fine walking because there was snow on the ground, and the bird came out of the tree, and I'm like, I think he's coming, Warren. And here he comes, and he comes down there, and it's dark enough. It was light. We could see the turkey. But when he got there, I'll never forget your first comment was, did you see the flames come out of your gun, Dad?
Yeah.
Because it was that dark that, but I mean, he was.
There's no way
hammered.
that camera was filming if it wasn't legal light. That thing could not pick up light for
We
crap.
didn't have it on film. That was before we filmed.
You have some video of him where he going that.
Dad shot.
Yeah.
Oh, is that yours, the one I'm thinking of? Where it came out and you ask him, what'd you think about that? And
No,
he goes, that was so cool.
Right. I filmed everything at the truck.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
We didn't carry the camera with us. We didn't. He was not going to have any part of that.
No, nothing's changed.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I can remember all the turkeys I've killed off the top of my head.
I can't. I have to look at my book. And
Yeah,
you've
I'm
probably
going to go look at
doubled
my log.
mine.
How many have you killed?
I don't know. I would have to count. The other day when we
You
were
got to be close to 100.
probably pushing 100 turkeys.
I feel like I'm probably at like 20, something like that.
No, I'm at 15 or 20. You're at like 30 or probably like mid 30, pushing 40. Because I've shot at least one every year since I was 10, and that's 13 right there. And I've doubled up in multiple years.
Right.
Well, I know there was a while there. I think the one year I killed 2 in Nebraska with Dad, maybe 3 actually, Yeah, I think I shot 3 jakes. Then killed one in Montana, and then I killed one in Idaho. So that year I killed 5.
Right.
I think I've counted yours. I think you're right over 30.
Probably. So, but it makes it hard to go back of the non-recent ones. The one that stands out to me all the time is that one that pitched off the flipping mountain, just because it was so wild.
I don't know why I can't remember turkeys as well.
All the
Probably 'cause there's
Nebraska
so
ones
many
blend
more.
for me.
Oh yeah, but if I look at my sheet though, for whatever reason, I can see where the sheet is, what year it was, or whatever, and I can tell based on the piece of paper what the story behind it. But I couldn't think of it just without.
Well, I
counting
remember
them up.
Nebraska. So, I mean, people are always asking us, what kind of weather do you hunt turkeys in, or when do you not go? And do you guys remember when the one morning when you and Mom both shot? You shot 2 that
snowing.
day.
Yep.
And it had been snowing for
awful.
2 days. Yeah, it was 0.
That was so freaking cold.
It was super cold. I mean, it was literally 0 degrees. But remember, the storm had passed and the sun came out that morning and it was dead still.
Yep.
And those turkeys were freaking out.
They were all over too.
The other
Yep.
thing I remember, the coolest thing that possibly one of the coolest things I ever seen with turkeys was when they all flew over you and him.
Mhm,
Yeah.
on the cliff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
And they're cackling and making all kinds of racket. It was like geese flying over your head.
but so that people can see what we're talking about, it was like national forest type stuff with like badland
Rocks.
intermixed with it. Yeah, so it's these little cliffs and things, and these turkeys were going up onto these top of these bluffs to pitch off and roost. And we were hunting a flock of 200-300,
Several hundred.
and somehow I don't know what we were doing back there. I guess roosting them or something.
No, we were actually trying to. I can't remember whether it was just getting. We were hoping to find them before it got late, and then it got too late, so we all kind of gave up on hunting, and we're trying to see where they were going to roost at. And you guys bumped them, and they flew over me and him.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, like the whole entire flock, like 100, 200.
It's crazy.
Easily.
Yeah, it was.
We have
cool.
video of that.
Yeah, we do have some video of that.
Yeah, that was gnarly. It was loud.
One of the other crazy things about Nebraska was when we went to a place. I'm sure it's not this way anymore, but it used to be where you could go to the local DNR office and they would give you a list of landowners that wanted you to go kill turkeys. So Dad and I went to number 1 on the list, and we got there, and we'd asked him if we could hunt. We saw 200
like
turkeys.
200 turkeys are out in the field.
200 birds out there, and we asked him. He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." He's like, "Well, there's not many left," and we're like, "There looks like there's plenty left." And he's like, "There was 600 here all winter." And he's like, "You don't believe me, do you?" Which I don't think we even had time to answer. And
He pulled out a picture.
yeah, and he's like, "Here, I'll show you," and shows us this picture of them all roosted on his place, and it was. I can still see that photo today because it was every limb, every spot that a freaking turkey could roost, they were just jammed. And then I remember the train tracks. The train went right by his house, and there was just dead turkeys all over on both sides because there's just so many flipping turkeys. They must have been eating the gravel or whatever, and just so many of them. I guess they tried to fly or didn't get out of the way or what. But like literally, you could look down the tracks, and there's just turkey.
I wonder how many fall out of trees.
They do fall.
I think it just opened their wings.
I mean, they don't fall as
Maybe.
in like thump and hit the ground, but I have seen one fall out of a tree.
What did he do? Fall asleep or something?
Kyle and I were in, and is in the evening, and we watch these birds get around us, and so they're going up on the hill and pitching back, kind of where KB goes through the fence there, or used to or whatever, and he pitched into the tree, and I guess one got next to another one and pushed on him or whatever, and next thing we know, like a helicopter, here he comes because he can't get no leverage, so he gets to the ground and then he walks all the way back around and goes
And
up,
starts
and
over?
flies back up in the tree.
Oh, he was probably pissed.
Yeah, but I was like, Kyle and I were howling, laughing. I was like, man, he's got to feel like such a moron, like I fell out of the tree.
That's watching a squirrel fall out of a tree is one of the funniest things ever too, because they just thud and bounce back up and they keep running.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild.
So let's see. What about most unique? We've talked about some of the unique situations, but I can remember one that if first the guy pissed me off, second I was like, couldn't believe that it worked, and that was same thing hunting Montana at the time, and had a whole flock of birds working toward us. They were coming real slow, but it was a big flock, so it was going to take them a while to get to us. I kept calling and calling. They're coming. And what we didn't know was there had been a murder in the town right by Glasgow, I think is where it happened at. We were 5 or 6 miles out of Glasgow. And anyhow, what they had done is they were trying to find the body. And we don't know any of this at the time. We find out all this afterwards. So they rented hired a guy that had a helicopter to fly the river. And we were only hunting like 200 yards from the river. And that helicopter came down the river. And when he came down the river, spooked my whole flock of turkeys. I was so pissed. I'm like, I worked all this morning. Here's this big, shiny, like gold, copper colored helicopter swooping around, doing all this stuff. I'm like, what is this freaking guy doing? He's chasing turkeys. Is what I thought he was doing, because, he's like, just why else is he flying around that low to the river, And he kept messing around down there. And then he went down and around this bend. And next thing I know, here comes all the turkeys running back. And here comes the helicopter and pushes them right back up to but even closer to us now before he goes on. And I was like, well, it kind of worked in our favor. It didn't work, and then it did. And then sure enough, they committed, and I ended up killing one of those birds. And that was all because
of a freaking helicopter.
Helicopter looking.
What are the odds of that?
They found the lady that had been killed, too.
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah.
You got a bird, and they found the body.
Yeah.
That'd be FU money to be in a chopper to chase around turkeys.
Yeah, no kidding.
What do you think that what are they doing that early in the morning like that, because it was like 8 o'clock in the morning?
That would tell me more that
chasing turkeys wouldn't be my first thought, though.
Definitely not.
Well, it wasn't I guess first thing that I thought was military. Like they're doing, because you see stuff like that. But and then when I saw the helicopter, I'm like, that's definitely not a military helicopter. It's a private helicopter of some sort doing something.
Huh. Didn't her husband kill her or something too?
Yeah, that turned out. I think it was the husband or a boyfriend or something.
Oh, he's the husband.
It was all in the news.
Easy, you're about to be one.
Well, I don't plan on killing anybody.
Well,
so
it's a good idea.
What I'm trying to think of some other weird. You got to mention the one that, I guess if we talk about just, I don't know what you call it, just a technique that basically came a combination, and that's when you crawled out there amongst the decoys with the.
That one I reaped. The one that was more memorable than that was when East and I, same thing. We kind of had these birds patterned, and they kept going to this bottom and strut around and everything. And so East and I were trying to get there. Well, that was our other issue. It was always after school at that time. So we didn't get out of school till 3 or something. So we were kind of against the time clock. And so we went there as quick as we could and started heading back to where we were trying to get to. And somehow we managed to peek right over the hill, and they were right there, like within 100 yards, 150 yards. We're like, okay, we're definitely not going to be able to get to the bottom. And there was a couple cedars along the fence, and that was it. And I don't know why we didn't. Oh, no, that's what it was. It was the way the hill was rolling. There's no way we could pop up the blind without getting busted. So we decided we would just sit in these few little cedars without a blind and put up the decoy right in front of us. And we were going to call this bird to us and shoot him. And so we did that, and we called to him, and sure enough, here he comes. But he was on the other side of the fence. It was a barbed wire fence, too.
Oh, yeah.
It was a flipping barbed wire fence. And this stupid turkey, East and I are sitting in the cedar that's in the tree.
Or that's in the fence.
Or that's in the fence, yes. And he's walking the fence line. So he literally was from me to you.
Feet.
From Easton and I at one point. Like, you could just feel him right there drumming, And he did that back and forth. Then I kept remembering, was he going over the hill?
Yeah, he just would go further. He would make the loop. Like, he'd come back, and then just eventually he started getting further, and then he'd come back, and then he'd go further away.
He was going just over this hill, and so then I grabbed it the first time. I crawled out and grabbed the decoy and then, moved it, and he came back. But he did the same friggin' thing. And then Easton's like, well, let me grab it. So then Easton abandons the camera, and he grabs it, or that's what it was. We're like, okay, next time he's going to do it
somewhere, then he'd get a shot.
Yeah, we're like, next time, we decided we were going to shoot him through the fence. We decided, okay, instead of trying to get him on our side of the fence, we're just going to shoot him on the other side. Easton's like, I'll get him and distract him, and then you shoot him.
Which is the same owner. But
yeah, same piece of ground. It wasn't like the ground was separated or anything. So Easton grabs the decoy and moves up, and he does it again. It was like 2 or 3 times that he does this. But this time he comes to us, and I'm ready for him, and I shoot him just between the barbs at like 6 yards or something like that. I don't remember how I got the full draw.
Because he was coming to me.
Yeah, but
I was like 10 or 15 yards. No, he couldn't because you were in your limb.
Oh, in the cedar.
Yeah, you were in the cedar, and then I think you even popped out.
I think you're right. I think I drew and then like scooted out.
Yep.
And I shot him. I thought I hit him pretty good, but he also, it was a big swale, so he just pitched immediately. And then we never freaking found that one either. I don't know how many, if that was the same year that I
one
shot.
did seem like a good shot.
Was that
too.
the same year that the 4 were coming to roost and they turned and came all the way across the field to you?
And you missed that one
and
too.
You missed that one.
I don't know. Yeah,
that
I
one
missed
you just
that one.
flat out whiffed.
Yeah, I missed that one. I was really pissed.
You got stage fright on that one.
Well,
those birds
were
trying. They were at their freaking roost, and they just were like, you know what? Screw it, and just freaking sprinted as fast as they could to 10 yards. Got shot at, ran away, flew into the roost. That was it.
Sometimes it's
Four
just
big toms too.
Yeah, they were. And I could not believe they came in that late. It was like to the point where when you're deer hunting and you have that 30 minutes after sunset, it was like that, but like to the point where it's like 15 minutes after and you're like, it's starting to get dark where I'm probably not gonna be able to see my pins that well or whatever. That's how late it was for these birds. And if you turkey hunted, you probably know that most of the time they're in their roost by then.
right.
These
No,
ones
it was
were
late.
They were running.
Late.
They were running to go beat somebody up.
Mm-hmm.
Then they just got warned. But
See, the closest I've ever had one that I didn't kill was Missouri. First time I hunted Missouri when I lived in Arkansas. This is before either one of you guys were born. And David Westmoreland invited David Oliver and I up to hunt turkeys. And it was horrible weather, like cold, like kind of like today, just a misty rain and windy. So anyhow, he says, normally, there's lots of birds. I have no idea where I'm going. We all split up. And I get up in this like edge of this field and in this thicket, and I hit a call and a bird gobbles. And I'm like, holy cow, he must be pretty close because I heard him pretty well. And I get over and I sit down. Well, when I sit down, I can only see 10, 15 yards. And like I said, shotgun hunting, that kind of sucks. Knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have set up like that. But the moment I sat down, I hit a call. When I hit a call, I mean, like he's 25 yards away. And so now he gobbles once to my right, and there's a big bush in front of me. So I'm like, okay, I've got to move my gun because I think he's going to come out right over here, and I got to get around this. So I pull my gun this way, do like this, and I'm sitting here looking down the shotgun because I'm expecting to see him like in shooting range any second. And all of a sudden his head pops up in the hole where my shotgun had just been, and he's like 6 yards away, and he keeps walking until he gets to me to you. He's like 2 or 3 yards. So basically my shotgun is sticking out here and he's standing right here, and there's nothing that I can, and he's looking around, and I'm like, holy cow, he's got to be able to see me blinking, and so but anyhow, make a long story short, I tried to jump up and get a shot at him. So
probably whacked you with a wing.
No, when I jumped up, he took off. When he's going through the brush, I shot at him like a rabbit and didn't hit him. So, but I mean, so sometimes even when they get that close, you still don't kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Even with a shotgun.
I've poked him with a shotgun, but I didn't have another tag.
It was dead, wasn't it?
The one that was fighting my decoy was not dead. I was standing on my dead one.
Yeah.
And the other ones were fighting me. They were trying to fight my bird, and I was in between.
It's good video there. That was our introduction to turkey reaping.
Oh, that was a time. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with that one.
Yep. Yeah, he was hollering, smack him in the head, smack him in the head.
You both were yelling at me,
Yeah.
smack him in the head. I'm whacking a dead turkey in the
Right,
head.
we're talking about hit the live one in the head with your shotgun.
I figured if I hit it hard enough, it might die too. I didn't have another tag.
Good stuff. All right, well, we better get out of here. I feel like those were some cool stories that someone may be able to take some of that. And I mean, number one, knowing that, any weather can work, knowing that craziest, you just never know when you go turkey hunting what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, but Warren's got wacky facts, so let's get our wacky fact out of the way.
The extinct colossal penguin stood as tall as LeBron James. Can you imagine like a 6'8" flipping penguin?
I guarantee you some people have seen it in their dreams, but that
I don't know about dreams. They were on the wrong pill.
Yeah, there you go.
Could you imagine one of those doing the slide thing?
Oh, that'd be freaking cool.
All they want to do is hug it.
Oh, my.
It's that big.
7-foot penguin.
That thing's eating the sea lions.
I would be subscribing every depressed person their own colossal penguin.
That would be so sick.
And I would cure mental health.
Imagine actually being able to freaking train it where it could walk around with you.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
It'd be 2 feet taller than you still.
It'd probably be. I'd prescribe them to all these people, and the penguin would probably start slapping people or something
That'd be funny.
with its wing. I'm going with that one, so I'm 100% for the day.
Smart thinking. Joey updated us. He did jump. He did better after last week.
Yeah, 50%.
Good
Versus
job.
what, 30 or something?
That's a big jump when you consider how many I have to hit.
You did good. You did good. Oh,
Red.
warmth cue.
Bing. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, guys. So that was the Raised Hunting Podcast. We sure appreciate you guys listening. Share the podcast with a friend. And if you're out and about, talk to some other people. Let them know, hey, there's a podcast out there. We love to get some new photos on there. As Easton mentioned, we'll take turkey photos too. Elk photos. Doesn't have to just be whitetail deer. We'll be more than happy to put the next batch of photos up. So, all right. Well, we're out of here. Thank you guys for listening.
Peace, love, and hunting.